Most gardens are rebuilt every year. Beds are cleared. Soil is fed from bags. And fertility is expected to appear on schedule. But some garden plants were never meant to be replaced. They stayed in the soil. They returned each season. And while they grew, they quietly rebuilt the bed around them. These plants didn't make gardens faster. They made them stable. This is the story of the garden crops that worked slowly, and why modern gardening stopped waiting for them. Before fertilizers and soil conditioners became standard, home gardens were managed for permanence. Beds were expected to remain productive in the same soil, season after season. Perennial legumes were central to this approach. Once established, they returned each year without replanting, anchoring garden beds and improving soil through natural nitrogen fixation. Their contribution was gradual. Fertility increased over time rather than appearing instantly. These plants fit gardens that valued patience. They reduced the need for inputs, stabilized soil structure, and supported surrounding crops simply by remaining in place. When modern gardening shifted towards speed and annual cycles, perennial legumes no longer fit the method. This episode examines how these slow-working garden plants functioned and what changed when gardening stopped waiting for them. Home gardens were once designed to remain productive in the same space for many years. Soil was not replaced or reset at the end of each season. Instead, gardeners worked with plants that stayed in the ground and gradually shaped the condition of the bed over time. Perennial plants made this possible. By remaining in place, they reduced repeated soil disturbance and allowed root systems to develop fully. Among these, perennial legumes played a specific structural role. Their long-lived roots stabilized garden beds and limited the disruption caused by annual replanting. Garden fertility in these systems was maintained through biological processes rather than scheduled inputs. Perennial legumes supported soil function through nitrogen fixation, a continuous interaction between plant roots and soil bacteria. This process is described in detail by the West Virginia University Extension in its article Legumes and Nitrogen Fixation, which explains how legumes interact with soil organisms in garden settings without external intervention. Because home gardens were limited in size, consistency mattered more than speed. Beds that improved incrementally required fewer corrections and remained easier to manage. Gardeners valued plants that contributed to soil condition simply by persisting year after year. This approach accepted delayed results. A garden plant was judged by how it performed over multiple seasons, not by how quickly it produced visible change. When gardening shifted toward annual cycles and rapid turnover, this long-term logic was replaced. Perennial legumes change how a garden bed develops because they remain in the soil across multiple seasons. Instead of being removed and replaced, they establish long-term root systems that interact continuously with surrounding soil. This persistence alters the physical structure of the bed over time. As roots expand and age, soil disturbance decreases. Compaction caused by repeated digging is reduced, and soil layers become more stable. Water movement improves naturally as channels form around living roots, allowing beds to drain and rehydrate without mechanical adjustment. Because perennial legumes stay in fixed positions, they influence garden layout. Beds are planned around their presence rather than reset each year. This creates predictable spaces for other plants and reduces the need for complete reorganization. The garden evolves through adjustment rather than reconstruction. Maintenance also changes. Planting is replaced by pruning, thinning, and observation. Growth is guided instead of forced. Gardeners respond to how the bed develops rather than imposing a preset schedule. Over time, this results in fewer interventions and more consistent performance. The defining feature of perennial legumes in gardening is accumulation. Their effect does not appear in a single season. It emerges through continued interaction with soil, moisture, and neighboring plants. By remaining in place, they function as structural components of the garden rather than temporary occupants. When gardens are managed with this understanding, permanence becomes an advantage. Perennial legumes help beds settle into long-term balance, shaping gardens that improve gradually instead of restarting each year. In gardens built around annual cycles, soil is disturbed repeatedly. Beds are cleared, turned, and replanted according to fixed schedules. This constant resetting prevents soil from stabilizing and forces gardeners to rebuild structure each season. Perennial legumes reduce this disruption by remaining in place. Their roots are not removed at the end of the growing season, allowing soil layers to settle instead of being repeatedly broken apart. As explained by New Mexico State University Extension, legumes form a long-term relationship with soil bacteria through nitrogen fixation, a process that continues as long as living roots remain undisturbed in the soil. Because these plants persist, changes happen gradually in the same location. Root growth, root decay, and surface residues occur without clearing the bed entirely. This continuity allows garden soil to develop structure rather than being reset to bare conditions each year. Gardeners working with perennial legumes shift their management style. Instead of rebuilding beds from scratch, they work around established plants. Soil preparation becomes minimal. Effort moves from seasonal construction to ongoing observation and adjustment. By limiting how often soil must be disturbed, perennial legumes reduce the need for annual garden resetting. Their value lies in permanence. They allow beds to mature instead of restarting, changing gardens from short-term projects into long-term systems. As gardening practices modernized, expectations changed. Beds were no longer designed to settle over time. Instead, productivity was expected to appear quickly and predictably within a single season. This shift favored plants that could be planted, harvested, and removed on a fixed schedule. Perennial legumes did not fit this model. Their value emerged gradually and depended on remaining in place. They required gardeners to wait, observe, and adjust rather than follow a calendar. In systems optimized for speed, this patience became a disadvantage rather than a strength. Garden layouts also shifted. Uniform beds and synchronized planting made management easier, but they left little room for permanent plants. Flexibility gave way to standardization. Plants that disrupted clean cycles were removed in favor of those that could be replaced without consequence. Inputs replaced continuity. Fertility was added from outside rather than built in place. Soil was treated as a medium to be corrected each season instead of a structure shaped over years. In this environment, long-lived plants were seen as obstacles to efficiency. Perennial legumes were not removed because they stopped working. They were removed because gardening stopped accommodating slow improvement. As speed became the priority, permanence lost its place in garden design. This change redefined success. A good garden was no longer one that improved quietly over time, but one that produced visible results on demand. Gardens that rely on permanent plants behave differently from those rebuilt each season. Instead of responding sharply to weather shifts or planting delays, they change more slowly and predictably. Perennial legumes contribute to this stability by remaining active in the soil year after year. Because these plants are not removed annually, their root systems continue interacting with soil organisms without interruption. This ongoing relationship supports consistent soil function rather than seasonal spikes followed by decline. As noted by Penn State Extension, nitrogen fixation in legumes continues as long as living roots and compatible soil bacteria remain present, making permanence a key factor in how these plants influence garden beds. This continuity affects how gardens respond to stress. Beds anchored by perennial legumes recover more gradually from disturbance because they are not starting from bare soil. Moisture movement, soil cohesion, and biological activity remain more even across seasons. For gardeners, this translates into predictability. Fewer adjustments are needed because conditions change incrementally rather than abruptly. Management becomes observational instead of corrective. Decisions are based on how the garden is evolving, not on resetting targets each year. Perennial legumes do not simplify gardening by producing fast results. They simplify it by reducing extremes. Their contribution lies in moderation, smoothing transitions between seasons and allowing gardens to function as settled systems instead of recurring construction projects. This is why their value often goes unnoticed. Stability rarely draws attention, but over time, it is what allows gardens to remain manageable without constant rebuilding. As gardening priorities shift, the limits of speed-based methods are becoming more visible. Constant replanting, frequent soil disturbance, and reliance on scheduled inputs increase effort rather than reducing it. In small gardens especially, this approach creates work without building long-term stability. Perennial legumes are being reconsidered because they operate outside this cycle. Their presence reduces how often beds must be rebuilt and allows gardens to develop continuity. Instead of correcting soil conditions each season, gardeners work with systems that evolve gradually. This reconsideration is not driven by novelty. It comes from practical constraints. Time, space, and maintenance demands are pushing gardeners toward methods that reduce repetition. Plants that remain productive without constant resetting fit this need. Design approaches are also changing. Gardens are increasingly planned around permanent elements rather than empty beds. Paths, plant groupings, and rotations are adjusted to accommodate plants that stay in place. This allows gardens to mature rather than restart. Perennial legumes fit naturally into this shift. They do not require gardens to be redesigned around them. They require gardens to slow down. In doing so, they restore a form of management that values accumulation over replacement. Their return is quiet. There are no dramatic results in a single season. But over time, these plants allow gardens to settle into patterns that require less intervention and fewer corrections. That stability is why they are being noticed again. Perennial legumes were designed to stay, not to hurry. They improve gardens by reducing disturbance, not by producing instant results. When speed replaced patience, these plants lost their place. Not because they failed, but because gardening changed. Some systems work best when time is allowed to do the work. For more overlooked garden logic, subscribe to Nutrient Relics.